Power Up Gaming, the only destination you need for retro video games, consoles, and accessories. Want access to exclusive specials? Like us on Facebook.
Okay, we're going to do a quick video here, and it's one that is probably overdone on YouTube already, but it's one I haven't done, and I just wanted to show how easy it is to actually change out a battery in a Game Boy Advance game. So games like, let's see here, Pokemon Gold, Pokemon Silver, any of those style games have batteries in them that do die over a period of time. I mean, most of these games are, 15 years old now. So most of them have batteries that are pretty much dead. And what we tend to do is we just open them up and we grab our multimeter and we actually check the voltage on them. This one looks like it is an original battery on it, so I can pretty much tell you that this one's going to be dead. But let's take a look here. We'll take a look at the main bench. Actually, this doesn't look like it's an original battery. But anyways, let's get it at least positive to negative so you can actually see a proper voltage. Look at that. 0.01 volts. So that is not going to save any game whatsoever. And unless you're running through Pokemon from beginning to end all in one go, that's going to be completely useless to you. So you're definitely going to want a new battery in that. So we're going to go through how to actually change that out. And, no advanced tools here, just a little bit of basic soldering skills. So what we're going to do is I'm going to find a replacement battery here, so give me 2 seconds. I've reorganized all my drawers here and have no idea where... There they are. Okay. So even with my replacement batteries, I like to actually check the voltage on them just to make sure that sometimes when they're actually being shipped out to me, they get shifted around in the actual shipping packaging, and then you get them actually discharging. So if I'm going to do the work, I want to make sure that it's actually showing the proper voltage. So that's 3.37 volts. That is absolutely perfect, so just over 3.3 volts. They're a 3-volt batteries, so they should be reading about there. That's perfect. So first thing we're going to do is actually pop the old battery off. So we'll zoom in here. Actually, you know what? Maybe we'll use the other scope here. Okay, look at that. Nice and zoomed in. Okay. We'll see if we can cut down that glare a little bit. Give me 2 seconds here. Okay, so there we have it. So there's the battery, and it doesn't quite look like it's an original battery. I mean, it's the style the original battery was. Most of the replacements are like these yellow ones here that I'm going to be putting in there. Most of the originals were kind of this gray with the gold edge on it, but the solder on it looks like it's not original. So I don't know. Maybe it's original, maybe it's not. But what we're going to do is first off just going to take the stock one off. So we're just going to loosen that solder pad there and take off that one. Okay, so there's the old one off. So what I typically do is, again, being anal retentive, OCD, whatever you want to call it, is I like to clean up the actual pads themselves. Just grab a little bit of solder braid and get rid of the old solder that is in place. And actually it's going to be a lot easier if we grab a little bit of flux. I mean, realistically, what does this take? An extra 30 seconds to do it? It's no big deal. So again, flux is your best friend in getting it to actually flow, getting the solder to actually flow. So the flux will actually get the solder to actually flow through the actual solder braid. Okay. So there's the solder pads pretty much cleaned up. Could have done a little bit more cleaning on this one, but it's fine. So when you're looking at these batteries, the one thing you want to make sure is that the positive goes to the positive. So you can see here that the top tab here, so this one coming off here is actually the positive. When you're looking at the board, where's my poker? There it is. Okay. So the board itself, where's the marking? So you can see a little negative sign there, and the positive, which is kind of really reflective, is actually right there. So that's the positive side there, so you want to make sure that the positive's to the positive and the negative's to the negative. So when you're actually doing the soldering, what you really want, soldering 101, is to actually heat the pad and the tab at the exact same time. You want it both to hit the actual melting point, so you actually get a good bond between the two of them. And basically, your solder should be a nice uniform shape, but also have a nice shine to it. So it's a big pad, so you can use quite a bit of solder on it. Big pad, big tab. If you're really picky, you're like, you know what, I really want that nice round shape, you can apply a little bit of flux to it. And if you watch what happens to the one that wasn't very shapely, if you apply a little bit of flux to it, and you just remelt that solder, you get that nice shape to it. And then what you can do is grab a little bit of alcohol on a Q-tip, and you can clean up those solder pads, or the pads you just soldered. Get rid of all the flux and everything. And you have a perfectly soldered in battery. And that's it. So, first few times you do it, what I'd recommend is after you've actually soldered in the actual unit, double check, make sure that positive does actually line up with the positive now that you can actually see the battery in there. The other thing to do is actually put it into the actual unit, try going into the game, try starting a new game, save the game, turn off the power, turn the power back on, make sure that it actually is all saving properly. The other thing I didn't actually talk about is when you're actually taking a look at the actual arms on the battery, make sure the arms are actually bent. Just to go back to the headshot here, make sure the arms are actually bent down a little bit so that they actually make contact with the pads properly. So when you push down the battery, they're actually sitting flat. In some cases, when you're actually getting the batteries, they can actually be bent upwards a bit, and what you're not going to get is a good contact with the actual pads. So make sure they are bent down a little bit, so when you actually pushing on the battery and doing your solder joints, that actually gets a good solder joint where it's actually making proper contact with the pad itself. Just a few little points there. And then from there, basically, it's exactly the opposite. So from here, basically, you're just putting it right back in. The other thing you want to do at this point, before you put it back in, it's perfect time to actually clean up the actual contact points. So again, just some rubbing alcohol on a Q-tip. Really clean up those contact points. I like to clean up the edge on it too. You get a lot of crud from the actual edge, and that just gets transferred into your console. So not much on that Q-tip. It's a little gray, but it was pretty clean. And you're good to go. The other thing I didn't actually touch on. You can't open these games unless you have a special screwdriver. So this is a 3.8 millimeter security bit screw that is on these cartridges, and we sell the actual bits. It looks like a tulip almost, the actual bit on it, and I don't know if I can get it on the zoomed in on the telescope here. That is actually what it looks like. You need one of these to open all the cartridges, all the Game Boy cartridges. The Game Boy Advance ones are actually a tri-wing screwdriver that you need for that one. And the tri-wing, we also sell those here. So if you need one of those, that's great. Consoles, most of the Nintendos, Sega Genesis, TurboGrafx, a lot of those ones actually use the 4.5 millimeter. What else uses the 4.5? Tons of the Nintendo. There is, I think it's is it the Sega Genesis console? Or Sega Genesis cartridges? I think they use a 4.5 millimeter the bit. But yeah, so you will need that too. The other thing is, we do change out batteries. So if you're in a pinch, you just have a game that you need the battery changed, we do change out the batteries. It's a nominal fee. I think we charge $7.50 to change out the battery. That includes the labor, the battery. It saves you from having to buy the screwdriver bit, and you're pretty much good to go on that. So it's another option for you. If you have any questions, concerns, please leave it in the comments below. Please subscribe, and thanks for watching.